Hello and welcome back to my messy little studio here in wonderful North Wales. I'm going to do another watercolour today. I did have a go at one last night. I was going to show you what a mess I made of it, but it's on the other side of this piece of paper, so I can't. Anyway, I'm not going to dive straight in with something unimaginable. This is a photograph up there that I took last weekend. It's only on my phone. It's of the River Clywedog in well, it's just above the waterfall at Bersham. There's some stepping stones there. The river wasn't particularly high, but there's been a lot of stuff. I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of shale and stuff that's been brought down, and so you could actually stand in the middle of the river, and usually where I'm standing there is ankle deep in water. But anyway, what I like about it is the light on the trees. The next one is even better, but I'm not going to try painting that. It's just the light behind those trees. That's where the sun is in that picture, and it's just coming straight across the river, hitting those trees. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Stood my phone up there so I can see what it looks like. It won't be exactly the same, but it'll be similar. Paints, I'm not using the Ron Ransom palette. I'm using my adaptation of Charles Evans's palette. So I've got raw umber, burnt sienna, light red, alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, hooker's green. That is dioxazine purple. I thought if I'm going to cheat and have a green, I might as well have a purple as well. That is cadmium yellow pale. That's cobalt blue. I probably won't use the cobalt. I'll use the ultramarine. You use one or the other for your sky. Once you've used one for your sky, you use the same one for your shadows, and that is Charles Evans sand, which is quite useful. I've got somewhere, I did have there it is, piece of credit card which no longer works. Most of my credit cards no longer work. There's my palette. The brushes I'm going to be using are, apart from that one, a set I'm building up at the moment. They are SAA and they are Pretend Sable, and I really like them. I started off with a couple of riggers and then I've built up. I've got a size 10, size 20, a 6 and a couple of small riggers, and they're what I'll be using. I'm still waiting for a couple more flats to come which weren't in stock, but I've got them now. They were all in the all in sale, very cheap. Very good brushes, good value for money. So I'm going to try using them for a while, see how I go. The paper is very good paper, and it's Arches or Arche. So without further ado, this is the felted side of it. There's two sides to good wallpaper, good watercolour paper. That's the felted side. The other side has got a more regular mesh, well, a regular pattern because it comes off the mesh. Whereas this is from the felt pad that squeezes it onto the mesh when the water comes out of the pulp. So there we go. Wet 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 used to be my daughter's favourite band in the 80s. And I'm taking it down to the bottom of the trees. So now, still using that. This palette is one I've had for years and years and years. It works reasonably well considering. So, ultramarine, touch of light red, just to take some of the brightness out of the blue. Pardon me, still haven't got rid of this COPD problem. There we go. Very first time I've used this brush, so let's see how it works. Yeah, that lays in a nice wash. Put some cloudy bits in because it's very boring sky. That out. I'm using a proper towel because that way I can dry the brushes without tugging at the bristles. That's rolling down quite nicely, so I'll tilt the board. A bit more of that grey colour just by adding more of the light red. Take a little bit of light out of the clouds. While the paper's wet, you can do anything you like with skies. Okay, got that. Come on, work. My phone's got tired, turned itself off. there. Yes, I'll put a little bit of the blue coming down towards us. There'll be other colours going into that, so no need to worry about it. Okay, got them. Clean that biggie brush. I'm going to go in with this big 20. Again, first time I've used it, but we'll see how it works. First thing I need to do is get rid of that palette filth. The snag with this palette is it does keep your trays nice and clean, but it's not a very big mixing area. So I think I've finished with that, and that big brush mixes big washes. Leave a bit of filth on there. That's what Ron Ransom used to call it, the stuff you had left that dribbles down palette filth. It makes a very good neutral. Okay, right, okay, now I'm going to use the ochre and light red. Well, not too much water, but I want it runny but thick. One of the problems I had yesterday was getting the consistency right. And some more water as I go further away. And obviously the trees get smaller. To the side, I don't need them anywhere near so bright. I need them to be there, but I've got big trees coming up here. Haha, got ya. Into that tree colour. I'm going to put some raw umber. I think it's raw, yeah, raw umber. Just get some darks. Remember, the light's coming that way. I do like this brush. It's huge, but look at the point it comes to. See how that's blending in? Yes, I like these. So far, very nice brushes. Okay, now I'm gonna... No, I'll put a little bit of the foreground in because that can blur. For the foreground over here, you've got a what's-itty bit, a bank, and so what I'll do is I shall still use this big brush. I'll mix the raw umber, a lovely colour, with some of the burnt sienna, which takes you not far off burnt umber. Put a tiny touch of blue in it, and that is not far off. Now there's an awful lot of paint in this brush. All I'm going to do is drag this bank and on this side it's a little bit lighter, so into that I'll put a touch of the yellow ochre. just dragging it over there so I've got lots of sparkly white bits left. Soften the edge. Right, I'm going to pause that and let it dry. How do I pause it? Nope, I have to do it up there. Right, there we go. That's nice and dry now. Not 100%, but to all intents and purposes. I'm not sure if you can see, but just up here I have got some fairly hard edges. I'm in two minds. I don't know whether to do anything with it or just leave them, because they quite stand out quite well. It's where it's pulled in the cloud colour, and the same over here, but I quite like the shapes, so I think I might leave them, or at least see how they work out as we go on later. Have you got my head in? No, you got my arm. My phone had stopped again while it was drying, and I was faffing around on my computer. Right, okay. Now I've got the wet in wet stuff done, which is basically the background. Now let's have a quicker look at what I've done. Come here, phone, where have you gone? There. Yes, lots and lots of things there, so I will use the number 10. Remember, the light's coming from that side, so I shall do... Oh, it keeps turning itself off. I'll imagine it. I know roughly what it looks like. Ooh, don't want to leave you in there. Left the big brush sitting in the water, which isn't a good idea. Right, okay then, let's get some yellow ochre. And just a touch of the umber. I want this milky sort of consistency. Put the further away ones in first. There's lots of them. Now when you're doing trees, they're always thicker at the top, thinner at the top, thicker at the bottom. You can either do them starting at the top and press down harder, or you can do them starting at the bottom and take the pressure off. Doesn't matter which way you do them, as long as they don't end up like that one, but you can always add a bit. Now, while they're still wet or damp, mix some of the darker umber colour, touch of blue to it. And on the shadowy side, paint the shadow in. Even darker on this first one. Do it the other way around. I should have put one there. Put the shadow in first and put the light in that way. So they work both ways. Now here I've got a couple of really big bendy ones, but before I do them I'm going to put some foliage stuff on those. Some more darker trunks going up the background. Okay, we've got all these tree bits in the background. And now I'm going to use my littlest rigger, which is a number 2. Mix some dark, but not too dark. And just put some boughs. Doing these fairly random for the simple reason that trees do tend to grow in a fairly random manner. All these branches are just the tree trying to get its leaves up to the sky. And they follow the sun, a bit like the Beatles. I've got myself singing that now. But I won't inflict it upon you. When you're doing random sort of branches like this, try to avoid them coming off at regular intervals on either side, or they end up looking like feathers. And the reason I can get away with doing so many in this picture is because A, it's winter and I want lots of sticky out bits, and B, they're very thin and very pale and they won't be noticed much when they're dry. And I've got to put lots of twiggy bits. Just checking I'd remember to turn the video back on. I'll put a bigger one over here. Oh, still with this little brush. It's one of my favourite places, this. I love this walk. In fact, I love the whole of the Clwyd Valley. It's lovely. Okay, hopefully you can see down the bottom. What I've tried to do is capture the light at the bottom there. Maybe there's a bit too much light bouncing around here. Don't know, it's difficult to tell on the tiny little screen. Okay, now I don't have my flat brushes apart from that one, which I'll see if it's too big or not. Try it all out. Bashing it. works quite well. Yellow ochre, the raw umber, touch of alizarin, and blue. I'm just trying to get a darky grey colour. Don't want it too runny. See how that's come right back to a knife point again. Bit wet. Mixing much lighter, stiffer, which is the yellow ochre with a touch of cad lemon, cad yellow in it. Hope I haven't completely knackered it. Just having a look now. While that's still wet, and get that rigger out again, I'll use the bigger rigger, number 4. Slightly darker than the leafy colour. Trying to put a little bit more definition into these trees where I buried them a bit. What I'm doing, I'm putting almost pure cadmium yellow on there, which will sink into that, but hopefully enough will be left to give the illusion that there's some sunshine going on up there. It's very thick. Right, I'm leaving that for now. I'm going to put the big trees in because a lot of that is going to get covered. Just leaving it dry a little bit. Pardon me. Oh dear. Right, okay. I'm going to use this big flat again. Try it out. Every time I move, things fall over. That's the funny noises you can hear. Right, okay. I need a nice dark colour. The umber. The ultramarine. The touch of the alizarin. Now this should be another way to do trees. Fairly thick, but still a little bit runny. You can see it's running back onto itself in there. So here I want the big trees that are come in more or less into the foreground, and they grow there. Somebody was saying to me the other day, I wanted to see how you do fine lines with a big brush. This is even easier than with my Hake. The shadow over here. On that other tree. Now, damp brush. There, just taken out some light on there. I'll go back in with the number 10, mix up some more of this dark blue, umber, and you got almost black. You can get that organic look. Actually, fill this dark bit in where I think about it. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the organic look for branches, because they twist as they grow. You just, and as you take the pressure off, you twist the brush. That line there is a bit hard, so I'll just soften it off. Need to pull out a little bit more light there as well. Wet it. Suck it out. 2 stages. Make sure you've cleaned your brush beforehand, otherwise you just move the paint around. I'm just mixing up various darks now, and I've just put extra trees in this background. And the banks goes down slightly, so I'll put some shadowy bits going down there as well. I'll do more detail in that later. Right, okay, now we're getting close to the beginning now. That is bone dry, which is just as well, because what I'm going to do now is called wet on dry. Clean out this palette a bit, because I want some clean paint. Oh, sorry about the coughing. A friend of mine used to say years and years and years ago, I think I was still in school at the time, an old proverb: fear not the cough that carries you off, but the coffin they carry you off in, which I thought was quite funny when I was 15. Unfortunately, it's not quite so amusing now. Okay, big brush. Well, I'll use the 10. So I've dropped the 6 on the floor somewhere. Right, okay. Now, where that blue is, I'm going to mix up some leafy colour, which is the cadmium and the yellow ochre. Touch of brown. Actually, no, I'll put a touch of light red in. Just to orangify it a little bit. I want to have a look at my picture. Right, you can see, I don't know if you can see, there's orangey bits coming through between those trees. So I'll put some of that. Now what's tricky, not difficult, tricky, is that I want to lay this orange on top of the blue. I don't want to pick up the blue, and I want to leave some of the blue still there. So there, we have that. And whatever I do now, I don't need to fiddle with it. I do, having looked at the picture, need to darken some of those trees. Not all of them are not all the same. There's going to be another big one over there somewhere. Let that dry. That'll do. Now, there we go. Starting to get a little bit somewhere. Right, I'm going to pause it now because I'm not sure where I'm going next and I don't want to waste time with you watching paint dry. Right, I'm back. I've been having a little look at it. The thing I've missed when I've done it now is the stepping stones, which are the important thing. So I've left it to go completely dry, and what I'm going to do now is try to take paint out, and then I'll have to drop a level. I know what I'm talking about. All I'm doing now is wetting a line of paint straight across the river. Now dry the brush. Take it right out. Okay, that is that out. The other thing that I've missed out, I had to have another look at the picture to remind me what it was that I really liked about it. It's the fact there's another tree that comes across, makes an arch. So I'll put that in when I've done this, waiting for that to dry. In fact, I'm going to cheat. I think this is plugged in. Yeah, I'm going to cheat and blast it because I really want that dry as a bone. I should have said, put your headphones on or something. But I did say I was going to blast it, so. Right. That's dry. Where's my little number 6 there? Put the stepping stones in. I need to put some darks along there and let the water come down. Umber and ultramarine, nearly black. I'm painting the gaps, well, the shadowy bits. Now a lighter colour, which is the umber, with yellow ochre. That's the bit that's above the water. Now, as that is still damp, it should blend in. Now, this is where I could end up totally manking it all up. Just a clean damp brush, just soften the ends of these. Now, I'll take another little line out across there. I hope. Now, still going to use this little brush. I want a very pale version of the blue. I'll use this one. This is all me faffing because I forgot what I was painting to start with. So I take some reflections out, well, some highlights out of here as well. Try pulling a bit more out up there. There. Now I need a dark line at the top of the fall. I don't know why, I just do. I think sort of kill or cure time. This is Kill or Cure. And I've stopped talking because I'm very worried. Taking some of this out. I may have to reinstate some of the white with gouache. I may have to paint the whole damn picture with gouache. That was a bit mechanical. Well, I've made a bit of a cock-up of that. While that's drying, I'll put the other big tree in, which goes across there. Okay, some dark. I'll use a bit of this purple, why not? Because it's very red, almost magenta. Some green in, that'll kill it. Green and purple make blackish. Clean damp brush, soften that edge. Some branchy bits. pause it again and have a look. Right, I'm back. I've let it dry, and I've noticed several things that I'm not happy with. I think I'll probably have to call it Lost in the Woods, because I seem to have got a bit lost somewhere along the way. I'm going to try and finish it. If nothing else, it'll be a lesson in how things don't always work. People sometimes say to me, oh, wish I could paint like you. Well, this is how I paint most of the time. Right, okay, I'm going to go put some more depth in the background. I've mixed a little bit of green into this umber. And I'm just going to use the corner of the brush put some depth in the base of those trees. There's shadow on those sides. Here, that line should be flatter, so add a bit more bank. And again, a little bit more definition in those at the bases. A lot of dry brushing going on there just to get some texture. Now, that's sitting a little better. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to take something out there. I put the line in the wrong place. It's my fault. People sometimes say, if you make a mistake in watercolour, that's it. You're buggered. You're not. Take it out. And in this case, I want it to get right down to the paper. So I'm going to use tissue to suck all the paint out of that. And then I can go back in with my little brush and my thin yellow ochre and mend it. While it's still damp, put the line where it should be. That's better. Oh dear. Right, okay. Clean out that little 6 brush, get the 10 out. This isn't coming far enough forward, so my yellow ochre and my light red some of the cadmium there, and that's very orangey and it should come forward, so I'll paint that over these bits. Some water into it, thin it down to go further back. Gosh, used the tiniest touch of that purple and it's gone bonkers. There, it's just a tiny little tip of the brush. But if I mix it with the ground colour, it should look alright for shadows. Now I have gone very quiet because I'm faffing. Now pull this one out, put some more yellow in it and some more ochre, and put the lights in over the top of the darks. Not the best way to paint, but now that's just very thick paint laid on top. What I'm going to do now is a sort of a cheat. I'm going to use some of the Charles Evans sand, which is a very useful colour because it's more opaque than most, and you can use it to lighten other colours, namely that tree. And there it is, it's sort of pinky whitey grey colour. And mix some green with it. And some yellow ochre, because yellow ochre, the reason that is working is the yellow ochre in it, because it's fairly opaque. Clean damp brush. As that dries, it will actually go slightly darker. But we should still have a lighter side on that tree. Now, this one more of the Charlie sand, and I'm going to put a little bit of blue in this one, make it grayer. More green again. And notice all that was on one dip. Again, clean damp brush. In fact, I'll put some dark ultramarine umber. Whoops. There. Just put a very fine, where's my number 6? There. Just put a very fine line there. Now that side, I'm quite chuffed with myself. Making an orange, and I've stuck just a little bit of the sand in that as well. Need some light red in there. Right, we've got quite a bit of texture back into that, which I'm reasonably pleased with in places. I'm going to put some chunky rocks in the beginning in the foreground. Oh, I still got my credit card. Yep, 2 credit cards. Okay. First of all, the sand and the ochre. Now, while that's going off a bit, mix up some black, which is the umber, burnt umber, and the ultramarine. Raw sienna in it, which gives it a little bit more darkness. Burnt sienna rather. That should just be going off if this is going to work. Now, edge of the credit card. No, I didn't leave it go off long enough. It's okay, I'll put shadows back in when it's dry a bit. What I'm going to do now, bung them in there. The reason that top corner is always empty is in case I need to do a rescue. And that is just a touch of gouache, a little brush. In some people's eyes, this is no longer a watercolour because I've used gouache in it. Hello, Biscuit. Sorry, the Whippet's just come in, so I said hello to her. Right, I'll put some highlights in there. I need some darks just on the edge. Oh dear. I have to put some proper white on those bits where it just looks manky. Now it's got some white on it. Now, because I cocked up this, that's some really dark, and paint the shadows in. Sun's coming that way. Remember, the only real way to show light is by painting shadows. These rocks aren't actually here, I'm just painting them in. But it doesn't really matter, because the whole of this stretch of the river is actually, well, the banks are man-made in a lot of it, because it was a working river for donkey's years. It ran Bersham Mill, and the waterfall, which is just behind where I am, is man-made. You can see that the walls are built up with bricks, and a lot of it is built by John Wilkinson, and it was in the ironworks down in Bersham that all the cannonballs and cannon for the Battle of Waterloo were built. So there you go. History and painting all in one lesson. Just faffing about with shadows, definition, trying to make something of this where it was a complete and utter cock-up at one point. Odd, isn't it? The other night I did a not too bad picture. Last night I made a complete and utter mess. Tonight I've made something of a mess and think I've managed to rescue it, sort of. It's not what I planned when I first started, but at least it's something. I'm going to flick some more branches in. Right, I'm having another look at this. the battery ran out in the other, and this is the finished picture. So I'll just show you the bits that I've done extra. I put in quite a few little smaller branches with the rigger, and I also used a little bit of gouache on the rocks and some white bits in the river, and basically that's all I did after the battery ran out. Well, not the battery, the film ran out. So there we go, that's the finished picture.